Attorney General Jeff Sessions says the DOJ will pursue charges over violence in Virginia.
It doesn't meet the definition of domestic terrorism in our statute. We are pursuing it with the Department of Justice in every way that we can make a case. You can be sure we will charge and advance the investigation toward the most serious charges that can be brought.
But here's a question. Is the hate speech that inspired the violence protected by our Constitution?
Judge Andrew Napolitano is here to weigh in, and this is what a lot of people are talking about post what happened on Saturday that was so tragic. How far can you go when it comes to free speech?
Well, that's a great question. The short answer is hate speech is protected. Think about it. The speech that we love and that we welcome doesn't require protection because we welcome it. It's the speech that we hate and fear that the Constitution protects. So here's the rule. All harmless speech is protected, and all speech is harmless when there is time. That's the key. Time for more speech to rebut it. So if the person that organized this white supremacy rally stood up and said something incendiary and encouraged the crowd to commit violence, and there is time for someone to challenge what he said, even if no one actually challenges it, there is time for someone to do it, then his speech is protected and he is not criminally liable for the consequences of his speech. We're not talking about the guy that drove the car. That's obviously a crime.
For how much time,
We're just talking about speech.
It's not just, that's interesting, it's not just incitement. It's not just encouragement of violence or of something illegal. So if I was to stand up and say something, hey, go kill that guy, if there's enough time to rebut it, I'm okay?
Yes. And you are not responsible for the person who killed. There's no rule of thumb on how much time, as long as a reasonable person would believe that there's enough time to challenge it. So think of it this way. The only speech that can be prosecuted is successful incitement. If you successfully incite the crowd because there was no time to rebut what you said, then you can be held criminally liable in this hypothetical for what the crowd did.
Is that like hollering fire in a movie theater?
No, hollering fire in a theater is entirely different because that is controlled by the owner of the theater. We're talking about the government now. Right. Remember, the First Amendment only regulates the government. It doesn't regulate what people do on private property. Westboro Baptist Church, you know this awful case. The horrific things they say about the military at funerals for guys and women who have given our lives. Supreme Court said accepted speech. Very famous case in Chicago where a priest gave an incendiary speech and the mob destroyed the hall and the police arrested and prosecuted the priest. Supreme Court threw it out because you can't have the crowd determine what the speaker is allowed to say. So bottom line is the First Amendment was written to give the broadest, widest, most possible protection to speech, even speech we hate. Because the best remedy for hateful speech is not to suppress it, but to rebut it, to challenge it.
Can you see that ever changing?
I hope not.
Hope not.
I hope not. One of the beauties of our system is that you are free to go right out on that street corner and say whatever you want.
Make a fool of yourself and be discredited in the process.
Yes, exactly. Well, with Kilmeade, we're here. He'd give us an example. Only kidding, Brian, only kidding.
Well played.
You know that.
Well, we better get used to it because the organizers of the rally from Saturday say they're going to continue throughout the calendar year.
And they have the right to do it. Wouldn't you rather have hate, as horrible as it is, out in the open so we know where it is and we know who's spewing it and we can challenge what they say rather than having it bubbling beneath the surface? It's going to pop up somewhere.
That's right.
Anyway.
Discredit them in the court of public opinion.
Correct. The remedy for hateful speech is more speech.
Yeah, Judge, that's very well said. Great to have you on this morning.
Thank you. God bless you.
It's an important issue.